Hey guys, welcome back to the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. We're your hosts, Kevin and Aisha Shelton. And today I am so excited that we are joined by the Charm City Buyers. We love couples who are married and big marriage and real estate goals. And so we are super excited to have you guys here today. So thank you for being our guest.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So
Glad to
much.
be here.
So I know that Kevin and I know who you guys are because we are avid followers of your journey. But can you tell our Marriage and Real Estate Society more about who you guys are and what you are up to these days?
Yeah, so we're Charm City Buyers. We pride ourselves on being community wealth builders. We take everything that we have and we want to pour as much into the community to build and take people from where they are to their next level through real estate development.
Yeah, so something that's been really important to us really boils down to two things, right? And that's building wealth through real estate, and that's building Baltimore. And so we've been doing that ourselves through real estate investment and development over the last 11 years. And so going the full journey, we talk about all the time, we didn't have a mentor, we didn't have a coach. So we learned a lot of things through the school of hard knocks. We're like valedictorians of that. And so we started investing in rentals and then got into flips and doing blocks and now doing more and more development. So we've kind of taken that journey ourselves. And something that I'm super proud of is the fact that we've taken so many people along that journey with us, whether that is through our socials or YouTube or more intentionally through our coaching program. But yeah, we're all about, how can we, share the fact that we are, regular and do this ourselves and do it at a high level. And so can anyone else who's really looking to get into real estate and to build wealth for themselves, their family, and add value in the community.
No, I love that. I love it. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, and I'm gonna start it off like this. I'm probably gonna go off script because
I'm down. You rock, I'm rolling.
But I'm always gonna be off script. What did y'all do before?
Yeah, oh man. So before we started real estate, I bounced around after graduating college.
Mhm.
I worked in an HR department at a travel company for about 2 years, and I didn't really feel the fast pace. I was an athlete. I'm like, I need something a little bit stronger, right?
Mhm.
So then I jumped into a sales role that leveraged that HR experience, recruiting, right? So staffing, 80 to 120 calls a day. Hey, I got a job for you. Come to my office. Go to this person. Go to that person. And then from there, moved into a nonprofit here in Baltimore City focused on education and students. And then all throughout the journey, building the portfolio.
Yes, yeah. So we definitely worked our 9 to 5 while we were building the 5 to 9. Myself, when I graduated college, I was a corporate girly. So I went to headquarters of an insurance company in a leadership development program. So I worked with senior leaders and some folks on the board across that company. And then as we started to really make strides into building our own business, getting into entrepreneurship, really taking the real estate seriously, I shifted from that to a small business, a software development company that's Black owned here in Baltimore, where I ran operations for them. So I was able to take kind of that entrepreneurial spirit. How do you run a business, build a culture, lead people, all of those things, while they took some of my corporate. So they were setting the foundation to be able to grow and scale. So it was a great partnership there. But yeah, so I was a corporate girly prior to being full-time in real estate.
Yeah, notice you didn't hear anything about construction or real estate.
I'm like,
No,
where was the real estate?
but honestly, I love that.
Yeah, I did do an independent study my senior year in college because my senior year in college, I only had independent studies spring semester my senior year. So I don't know how I worked that out, but one of those was on real estate. And in that it was about development and things like that. Because I had in my head that I wanted to be in real estate in some level. I've always been interested in it. I don't know that I saw all of the things that we do now and really what's coming. But yeah, no, we did not work in real estate. We do not have an uncle, daddy, cousin that was in real estate. There's no trust fund over here. Although I do ask my mom randomly, like, where is it? Because I know you must be kidding, right? But no, we just got out there, decided that that's what we wanted to do, and put both feet forward into making that happen.
Y'all didn't get that small loan from your daddy for $1 million
For
to
$1 million,
make-
wait for it. I wish.
Listen,
I wish.
That's one of my
I gotta
favorite
call my
parts
Uncle Sam
about.
on that one.
Right. Don't
That's
call
one of-
him. I don't want nothing to do with him.
That's truly one of my favorite parts about hearing stories about couples that are doing real estate now is like, what is it that you were doing before you did this? And for a lot of us, not Kevin, and Kevin will go, if you let him go into how we got here, he has a very extensive story. But most of us weren't doing anything closely related to real estate, but there was some kind of pivot in life that pushed us in this direction. And now here we are doing what we're doing today.
I will say something that most people don't know about our story is when we both left our full-time jobs to be full-time in real estate. And during that time period, a developer that's based out of Baltimore actually tapped Khalil to come and join their organization to set up their residential development. So we had been doing stuff, they saw and knew we were doing things, and they asked him to come in, and it gave him the opportunity to add value by running their shop from a residential development perspective, but also gave him the opportunity to learn how things are done at a very high level in a corporate national developer level. So when you talk about tax credits, when you talk about working with local and state government and different entities and building those relationships, he got the opportunity to do that so that he spent the time learning and adding value there, and then brought it back home so that we could leverage it for what we were doing and building for ourselves in Baltimore.
It seems like both of you got some type of baptism by fire in learning all the things that you would ultimately need to have your own company. Are y'all both from Baltimore?
I'm from Baltimore, so West Baltimore, Gwynn Oak area. Where
I hear that wire talk right there. Whatever.
You gotta say two and blue.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I'm from here. I love the city. Always have. When I came back, I'm like, man. Like Kiara saw it, I saw it. We're like, this is the space. This is it.
Yeah, and I'm not from Baltimore. I'm from outside of Philadelphia, about an hour from Baltimore. But I came here all the time growing up because it's right, straight shot on the highway. So I always love Baltimore, and so it's really nice to be able to add value back to the city that I fell in love with growing up.
Interesting. So where did y'all go to college?
I went to Lehigh University.
Back when we meet back in the script. Where did y'all go to school?
So I graduated from Lehigh 2010 and Kiara from Lafayette 2011. So they're rival schools, oldest rivalry in the nation. And we were both on the track team. So we saw each other at meets, and then eventually I came over to her campus with some friends, and she was with her friends. The low lights, good music, vibes, and
that's all she knows.
We got a 9-year-old daughter.
Because y'all had a good time. There we go.
We had a great time. Yeah, honestly, it is from there, and then we kind of, built that relationship, and it's really been all she wrote ever since that day.
We both been all in. It's weird, but all in. I tell Kiara, as regularly enough that I hope she believes it now. But a week before I went to her campus, I saw her in a dream, and I'm so serious about it. I remember waking up, and it was like a silhouette with a bright light in the background. I was like, "Who is that? That's kind of weird." Then a week later, I see her, and she's standing. And as soon as I walk in the room, she's sitting in front of her college, those big lights with the octopus, and they got a bunch of light bulbs. She's sitting in front of that, and I double take. I'm like, that was her.
Wow. That's
so when
cool.
you get mad at her, do you bring that up? Man, you're supposed to be the girl out of my dreams. Why are you talking like this? Why you doing all this?
Your light's not shining very bright today.
This ain't supposed to be what you're supposed to be like. But no, so when y'all did the first deal, I kind of want to get into the nitty gritty, because did y'all buy a house before? What was the trajectory y'all were on before you changed your stars? I like to call it changing your stars, because y'all ain't supposed to be here, right? This was not supposed to happen. They all tell us you're not supposed to be here. This is for, other folks. So before you guys changed the stars, where did it start?
Yeah, so we were, so that job straight out of college took me to Connecticut. And so I was in Connecticut for a while. Khalil had already graduated. He had moved back home to Baltimore. He decided to join me in Connecticut. He always says I followed love and went to Connecticut. So he's in Connecticut with me. And so we're living together and, starting to, what did they say? Like, you can't get the milk for free, right? That kind of situation. Like we're living together. And so at the time, we were having conversations like, well, what does this look like? Right? Like, what are we looking to do and accomplish together? And we were vision boarding and we were dreaming out loud and really defining, how this path was going to look for us. And so in that conversation, we also knew that trying to work full time until it's time to get a pension was not feeling like the move for either one of us. So we started talking about entrepreneurship and different avenues. We looked at vending machines. We looked at, all the things that are like the cool things to talk about now. We were talking about that 11, 12 years ago, like what's our path? And like I said, I was always interested in real estate. And so that was on the list. It hit the most boxes for the both of us. And so we took a step in the direction of real estate. So the first project was a 3-unit shell that we bought in Hartford, Connecticut. We bought it for $26,000 through an online auctioneer. We had planned on wholesaling it. And so we were like, the numbers are great. We're going to wholesale this, make some quick money, whatever. And then that's when we started to learn and understand when people talk about location. And at the time, they were talking about war zones were like the language and things that people were using. But we saw this house, saw the numbers and knew that it was a lot of opportunity. And so the folks that we were trying to wholesale to through the local RIA, they were like, not in that neighborhood. I'm not doing anything over there. I will not, like, no way. And so but we doubled down. Like, no, the numbers are good.
The numbers work really well. And we had sat outside the community for a while. We started meeting people. We knew this was a spot to be.
Yeah. And so we double, triple down. And so instead of just wholesaling it, we got the funding through a nonprofit real estate lender to do the $120,000 renovation that was required on that property and did it ourselves. Like we were like, you guys don't see value in the neighborhood because you don't see value in the people who live here. And there's value in this property. And that really set the foundation for a lot of the things that you hear and see us doing and talking about, because that very first project, a lot of people said no. And that property honestly set the foundation for everything we've done since.
It really did. That first project, it was a full gut, right? It needed a little bit of everything. Now, some of the floors and the structure was good and strong, but it still needed all new roof, windows, all new MEPs, like the whole nine. We also used a tax credit on that property. We used a nonprofit lender. So it really, it allowed us to experience the full creative capital stack and bring it all together in a way that like Kiara said, it set the foundation. We were able to say, oh, wow, that wasn't too bad. Let's do it again. And let's explore more. Let's learn about grants now. Let's learn about all these different kind of funding arms and figure out ways to continue building properties.
Yeah. And it became a crash course on, again, turning vacant houses into homes, right? Seeing value in our neighborhoods first and not waiting for someone else to tell us that there's value there. It taught us how to be landlords with a conscience, right? We were working with tenants. We were helping them keep custody with their kids, and we were doing resume building. We were helping people get citizenship. Like, it was like that very first project was really, really great from a value perspective as an investor. And then it was $120,000 renovation as like 22, 23-year-old kids. And so we had to navigate construction without knowing construction and managing a contractor and, all of those types of things. And then we got married during the rehab and had a baby. Like, it was everything.
All at once.
It was everything all at once in that very first deal. So it became honestly the seed that birthed so much, which is really interesting to think about saying it out loud.
No, I love it. I think I'm a fan of all at once. I think our whole lives has been built on all at once. So we definitely feel your pain. My one question is, when you sold, did you ultimately sell it or did you keep it as a rental?
We kept it as a rental until last year. We kept it
Really?
for over 10 years. We kept that property and it cash flowed every single time. We
That's my
made about,
question, is that cash flow.
yeah, our cash flow was probably about $1,500 a month net that we were making on that property. And then we took the funds from that. And then obviously we were both still working full time at the time. So we snowballed. So we took the money that we were making from that project and then leveraged it to buy the next one and just continue to do that as we were building our rental portfolio.
And our very first tenant still lives there.
Mhm.
Like,
We
Really?
tried to get him to buy
I tried
it
to
in
get
the whole
him-
10 years.
Yeah, we were out of state managing the rehab, out of state owners. I mean, it was really one of those projects where like you learn a little bit of everything in this first deal.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, growing and scaling personally together and our business.
And figuring out parenthood and life
parenthood
and
too.
being
Yep,
young Black in
exactly.
America. It's a lot
Exactly. Like, let's
happening.
talk about the foundation.
in our 20s, right? And so we are always like, well, we punted our 20s, like they didn't exist. Now we have been very intentional about enjoying our 30s, but we punted our 20s because we just went for it. Like we literally leapt and built the plane as we were going, but it worked for us. I definitely don't say everybody should do it like that, but it was destined for us to be able to learn those things that set the foundation for what we're doing now.
I can't stop smiling because I keep hearing the similarities between your journey and our journey too. Some of the bumps in the road, some of the lessons that were truly invaluable. When I look back on some of the challenges that we had and how they've grown us as a couple and as business owners, I'm grateful for them on the other side of them, right? But I think that we as couples, and I know you hear this term a lot because we do too, as power couples, we make it look easy, right? And so they see the successes that we have. Tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you've experienced being married and in business together.
Yeah.
Listen, marriage is real.
Mhm.
Marriage is a business in itself, but you're talking about like two type A people who are former D1 athletes, who like really think at a high level and move quickly, who have a kid now and are married and in grad school and corporate job and other job, right? It's just all these different dynamics come together. In addition to like our families and our friends who like mold and sculpt us too. So there's so many just different dynamics coming together. I think for us, making sure that we lead with love. I'm gonna spin it to the positive first, right? And then Kiara can answer. But making sure we lead with love and making sure we prioritize each other. We go on date nights. We make sure we travel together. We have a good time. We laugh together, just like basics, right? Let's watch a movie together in our bed on our phone, like we used to do in college, right? Just like really keeping those basics together and falling in love with each other day after day, month after month.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and the last thing you said, to piggyback off that, as you grow as individuals, because we've been together since I was 19 years old, right? So you change a heck of a lot between 19 and your mid 30s.
It's probably one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, and just growth. And so being intentional about honoring where you are in your own personal growth, recognizing and understanding your partner's growth, and then choosing to stay connected and loving that person in where they are, and still being able to honor yourself at the same time. So that's one, just as people, right? As married people who've been married for 10 years and together for 15, like that's a long time. So being able to intentionally choose each other all the time. And then you have business, which adds that another level of challenges because your businesses ebb and flow, just like marriage ebbed and flowed. And so you have to, being able to balance those things and just stay in the moment and figure out at what point can you turn it off? Because when you're in business together, there's not much of a true balance, right? It's always on. But finding those moments where I can just be Kiara, or he can just be Khalil. We can just, have a good time. And remember that we are friends first. Like I tell people all the time, like I genuinely like my husband. Like I like him as a person. And so all the other things, if you keep that centered, kind of fall where they may. And I think as we've gotten older, we've learned to prioritize what is actually important. And the other stuff kind of, dice will fall where they may, and that's okay. But yeah, it's definitely been hard when, he's on and I'm off and I want cuddle time, but he's in work mode, right? Like there's those things that you just have to balance. I think, we're better at it now than we were in the past. And, but we've learned how to honor each other in the journey.
For sure. And I think Kiara brought up a really good point. That growth,
Yeah.
right? You got it, like for us and for really any couple getting started out with that first like 10 years, I would say, trying to find space and making sure that you have the room to grow, because you don't even know who you are yet, especially when you're married young and you're together young, you're together for a long period of time, you really don't know who you are. So making sure you find that space in a respectful way to continue evolving and growing, and give grace to each other so that she has the space to grow and I have the space to grow. It's a challenge, right? I think if I could answer your question pointedly, that is the most difficult piece. Just making sure that you don't get lost in each other
business,
and falling in love and like getting lost in that without like focusing on who you are as an individual and where you want to go as an individual, and making sure that you're on that path alongside of your partner, and they agree that that's the correct path.
Yeah. In our 20s, we were so focused on business, like the first however many years, that we didn't take time to learn and relearn and understand ourselves individually. We were hustling.
That's true. Yep.
Right. So like that's the scale and all that kind of stuff. Like we were hustling. We were balancing each other. Then you talk about like the masculine and feminine and all these types of things, dynamic. Like we were hustling. That means I was living in my masculine, right? He's doing his thing as well. So we were just cool, like being boys. Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, as again, getting back to learning and understanding and honoring yourself and giving myself permission to fall back into my feminine, right? And find the space. Once we got to a certain place, find a space where I can still be that girl. Let's be very clear, right? I'm still, very much in the business and running the business and all that good stuff. But the energy in which I put into it is different than I did, however many years ago. And that's my way of honoring myself and who I am in and through that as well. And so even him being able to adjust to that, is different. Yeah. And so yeah, like the marriage and business part, it's a journey. It's different for everybody. Our story isn't going to be anybody else's, but I think at the end of the day, it's understanding yourself, understanding your spouse, being aligned in where you're going, right? Having that shared why and direction, and then the commitment to continue to move forward in and through that.
I have a question.
Did you throw up a thumb? Was that you to put?
That was not me. That was not me.
Oh, I keep seeing them bouncing.
I don't know. Too.
I don't know.
I was like, who's throwing thumbs?
I thought y'all were doing it.
I didn't do that.
That's interesting. I ain't never seen a thumb. Okay.
We might be hacked. We might be Zoom hacked. That's like a thing.
We might be.
You can be Zoom hacked?
Okay, listen, don't go too far.
Sorry.
So y'all coach couples often, and we dabbled in that space, like very little. But what we found is that, one, he and I have this synergy where we see life the same way. And so it's very easy for us to progress forward. Well, how do you guys advise couples that you have one spouse who's like, this is the key, this is the answer, it's real estate. And the other person is like, I don't know, or no, or like, what is it? Do you see it for them? Is it like, hey, if she's not on board, then scrap that plan altogether? Or have you seen success where one person is in and sees it and the other person doesn't?
Yeah. So we do have couples that are in Next Gen. So we don't have anything that's like couples specific and only for couples, but we do work with a lot of couples because people go to who they resonate with. And so they see us together. And so, they feel comfortable in that. And so usually what we tend to do is I usually say you have to, like, y'all need to go back to the drawing board, right? If someone's all in on real estate and someone's like, no, or they're risk averse or whatever, my school of thought is once you are very clear on what you're trying to do and accomplish as a unit, if you guys are working on this together, you define where you're going as a unit. That means everybody has buy-in, everyone's comfortable, right? One person wants to do like crazy projects, someone else wants something a little bit more risk averse. You can find a happy medium. Once you find that happy medium, you work backwards to define your approach. So I'm not a one size fits all type of mentor. I'm very big on who are you? Like, where are you in your personal journey? Where are you trying to go? What do your finances look like? All those types of things. And say, okay, now let's work backwards to say, does it make sense to do big rehabs and, renovate and sell property? Does it make sense to keep it as a rental property long term? Does it make sense to turnkey a house? Like, so your approach really should be defined based on where you're trying to go. And married couples or folks who are coming in together, or even if it's you and your cousin, right? Y'all are married and you're trying to do this project together. And so define where you're trying to go with both those people in mind, and then work backwards on how you go to accomplish those goals.
Yeah. And for us personally, I think we change in each season.
Mm-hmm.
Where like at some points, first couple of years or whatever, at some points, it's all about building as much consensus as possible and agreeing on the direction. So waiting until there's buy-in, or explaining a little more, or really elaborating on the details and how this can work and why it'll work, and this is the next best step. And then at one point it was like, no, like Kiara thought of great ideas. I didn't think they were great, and she moved with them, right? And they turned out great, right? Or I did the same thing. Now we're in a place where, me personally, I feel like consensus building is really the key, making sure that we are on the same page, however long it takes. So I can be very patient. I can be very kind of like slowly chipping away at it, bringing up a topic kind of once a month or once a quarter, and like, oh, let me slowly kind of chip away at it, because I do think that this is the right direction for us to go. But I need her on board because I need my wife. Right. So
he's talking about something very specific. So we're gonna have a conversation after this. No.
No, look, I feel you.
They're having a few things over the years where I'm like, slowly chip away, and it's like, okay, cool. She can see the light. Now let's go. Right. And that's the best place to be.
I love that. What are you guys? I have two questions. What are you guys' roles in the business? Like, what do each one of you do?
Yeah, so we balance each other very well, but I'll say for the most part, and correct me if I'm, but for the most part, I'm more like bigger picture strategy, those types of things, and Khalil's a lot better at like executing. And so he's still like big picture and setting the strategy, but like he's very much, he'll roll up his sleeves and make sure it's getting done. And of course, now at this point, we have a whole team. So, it's not like anybody's out here swinging hammers, but to really go after and like execute on the vision, I feel like Phil's like more of the executor of the vision as we look to set the vision together.
Yeah.
No,
I agree. I think.
Now, Kiara, I've been getting my butt handed to me on the internet about that very thing right now.
I enjoy, like, I've dabbled in the kind of vision strategy space. And really and help set it and lead it and all those kind of fun things. And I enjoy that space too. It's a really fun space to be creative and to dream big. But I do, I'm like, when legal docs come in, I'm in it. Like, I'm reading every single word, I'm redlining it, I'm asking the right questions, I'm sending it over to the attorneys, I'm negotiating based on it. Like, I do dive deep into the details to make sure that we are as protected as possible. At the end of the day, me being the man in the marriage, right? Protection and security and safety, those are on me, I feel. And I think you feel the same way. So when it comes to securing home base and making sure that we're protected, I feel like from a business perspective, from a personal perspective, from like just spiritual, emotional, I try my best, not perfect, but I try my best to make sure that I am providing those filling those gaps for our marriage.
Yep, I love to see the little subtle exchanges, because as a married couple, we totally get it and know exactly what those things mean. Right, I'm doing the best I can. Like, this might.
Hey, look, I'm trying to be best.
Yeah. So no, that's really interesting. We both have that. Kevin and I have that same dynamic. I'm the visionary. He definitely will roll up his sleeves and execute. We just did a podcast with Black Wealth Renaissance, and Yeah, they're cool. They're very cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
the clip that Kevin made about that very similar thing, he's like, she has a vision and, I go out and do it. And it's just interesting to see the feedback that people have about that. Overwhelmingly, it's like, go ahead, girl, or that's how it's supposed to be, or where are these men, or where are women like this? But, then there's that very small few, Kevin, just a few people who, think it is less masculine for that to be the case. But one of the things that we recognize is that we have this divine connection, and this particular sauce of Kevin and Aisha, or the two of you, just really make things so much better, right? Because by myself, I feel like I was favored, and I feel like Kevin was favored. And I'm like, dang, this favor together, like both of us moving forward,
Powerful.
is what you see today, right? So I see that so much for y'all, and I'm just like grinning as I'm hearing you guys talk, because I hear the similarities between the two.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
I got some marriage too.
Yeah, mind your business, right?
So what's marriage is different. Everybody's dynamics are different. We all work the way we need to work, right? There's no right way to do it. If everybody knew the right way, then there wouldn't be as many divorces out here.
That part. But it's funny, actually, I did see you guys' video and I commented on it, and I said something to the fact, like, having a woman with a vision and a man who can execute, there's nothing you can do. And it never put it together that was you all. That's so funny.
Oh, yeah. Really? That's funny. And see, I saw your comment. That's why I said that.
It's all coming together. Yeah.
I think vice versa too, right? Like, maybe it's the man who has the vision and the woman who's really good at execution. What we learned was that when we operate in our gifts, it works so much better. And when we first started out, we had this battle between the two of us where we were overlapping in the business, right? Like, I try to do his side, he tried to do my side. And it was like, once we finally figured out, like, you are really good at this, you should do this and be in charge of this. And I'm really good at this, I should be in charge of this. We had these lanes, and it just moves so much better when we moved.
Absolutely.
Did you feel lighter after that?
Did. I mean,
my
soul felt lighter.
Absolutely.
Our marriage got lighter.
No, you said you're right.
The whole thing get lighter. You used to be walking in your purpose at that point. It's no better space.
And I think once everyone's completely bought in to the vision and the direction and what you're trying to do together, and you step more into that than you are in your ego, like, there's no stopping that momentum and that power. It's the ego sometimes that gets in the way and keeps us from being able to live in our zone, because we think that we got to do whatever, or we're not fully bought into the process. And so the more everyone's bought into the process, the further we can all go, for sure.
So before we jump into our last couple of questions, I wanted to ask one technical question, just because I'm a nerd. You guys' market is very interesting, because with all the historic properties and just the way that Eastern markets are set up, you can get all these tax credits and all these different benefits. Whose idea was it to kind of go down that path? Or was it something that you guys just came to? Because that's a niche that, Eastern markets have that we don't have here in the South, because almost everything is new, right? Like, y'all have these historic codes and a lot of incentives that other markets don't have.
Yeah. So our first project, we had the tax credit just because the property was blighted, right? So that very first property taught us that doing these older houses, you can get a property tax credit and you pay less in your property taxes. And as a landlord, that means more of the profits at the end of the year, right? So, like, simple enough as that. And then in Baltimore, there are some similar but different type of tax credits where, based on how you renovate a house that is historic, you can have a property tax credit for 10 years. And with the numbers here, because Baltimore is the birthplace of redlining, because it's block to block, because of all the different challenges that come with Baltimore real estate, you kind of have to do some of those tax credits in certain areas to get the numbers that you're looking for. And then from there, we just kind of built on the complexity of the types of sources for capital that we've leveraged on different projects.
Yeah. Yep.
There we go.
So
okay.
Whose idea was it? I think we both kind of came to the conclusion. Now, as we talk about things and we brand the business and marketing, there have been times when Kiara was like, okay, let's take it this direction, and it goes that direction. Or I'll say, let's take it this direction, and I'll go that direction. And we leverage what's out there, what our true desires are, and couple that with what community wants, what our clients want, what the leaders want, and make sure that we find a path that aligns with as many of those as possible, so that we can go forward and really accomplish the things that folks want to accomplish.
Yeah. So locally, there's a CHAP tax credit. There's some state tax credits for historic. It's all tied to the type of renovations you do. And then as you get more complex in your project, there's more sources out there, whether tax credits or grants or what have you.
I love that. We definitely don't have much of that here. I mean, we do affordable housing, so that's probably the closest thing that we get to that. Where they incentivize us by giving us the land. But, you know, we've torn down a lot of our historic structures. So there's not many places to start from with a good shell here. It's almost like building new is a more efficient thing to do.
Yeah,
it truly is. Absolutely.
Look, learn that on the journey. We were renovating and realized that it's much more efficient, cost effective, and it just made more sense for us to do new construction. And that's when we pivoted our business from renovation to completely new construction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely make sense.
All right. So we're going to jump into our final 5 questions. Aisha, I don't know if you had a particular order you wanted to ask them or what, or I can jump in. You tell me what you want. See, that's why we married. We married right there. That's her married face.
That's how married folks communicate, right?
Look, man, it's a journey. You know, you take it home every day. But no, why do you think so many couples are stuck, even though they have every intention of getting started in their journey?
Stuck in real estate. Or stuck in just like the business.
Just not moving. So,
It's not moving.
We particularly, focus on real estate, but so many couples are stuck with just moving forward in life, right? Whether they can't decide a direction or whatever. But, for us, we will want it to be on the same page to move forward. And same thing for you guys. So many couples are stuck at that starting point where they don't want to make a next step. Why do you think they're stuck there?
I think it's comfort and fear. I think those two things together just create an environment where being stuck, one, is okay because you're comfortable. So you can and then fear, you can just blame that and say, I know that's because I'm scared, but I'm gonna let the fear kind of overcome me. So that'd be my thoughts on it.
Yeah, people definitely start to, I think a lot of things that we've done is completely different than what we've seen. Right. We haven't seen people doing these types of projects or, couples working in this way. And a lot of times it's hard to chart a new path, especially if you're fearful. And so I think part of it is that communication to define where are we going, right? Like, where is this train headed? And having buy-in fully from both people in that. And then it is, how do I navigate fear, not only within myself, but the fear amongst each other, right? How do I encourage and support him if he has fear, or the same with me? Like, how does he encourage me, so that we're constantly pushing each other to get better, as together we're trying to get better to go where we're trying to, do what we're trying to accomplish. I think a lot of people aren't clear enough with where they're trying to go. They don't want to talk about money. They don't want to talk about credit. They don't want to talk about, all of those things. And, really thinking about marriage and this partnership as a business, right? We have to have these types of conversations to set the path for where we're trying to go. And I don't think people can get comfortable with being uncomfortable and having those conversations and making that happen.
And you bring up a good point. Something you said made me dig a little bit deeper. Comfort and fear, yes, but that might just be the symptom. I think what's underlying under that comfort and fear is couples may not know each other well enough, or study each other well enough, or be able to communicate to those deeper complexities of your partner well enough to help your partner kind of push through. Right. I think that's really, and it presents itself as, I'm just comfortable, I'm just fearful, but really we all need somebody who can help us navigate and push through those opportunities, because fear tells you the direction to go, right? Comfort tells you where not to stay. So really, you just need somebody, your spouse, to help drive you through it. And
Yeah.
I like that.
So I was thinking about this question more from a real estate perspective. Like, people, dream of owning real estate portfolio. And I mean, how many times do we have to hear generational wealth before we all just,
Just do it.
before we all just do it?
Yeah.
What do you suggest, like, for a couple that's like, we want to build generational wealth and we want to get into real estate and we want to do this? What do you suggest to get them over the hump of from not doing it to actually doing something?
Yeah. Protect your goals, right? So we all know that you can't have those conversations in every room with everybody.
100%.
And so one thing, right. So one thing with us, we had maybe like 10 doors before we started sharing that we were investing in real estate. So we leaned on and into each other for all those moments of fear and what are we doing? And oh my God, and how are we, right? We had those conversations at midnight in our bedroom and encouraging each other and being able to see each other's blind spots to be able to either fill that gap or encourage, each other to fill it ourselves. And so sometimes you need to protect those goals because you don't need help to be scared. And being very intentional about, like, if this is where you're going, then each and every day we are going to do something. We don't have to buy a 100-unit apartment building every day, but every day we're going to do something that's in alignment with what we're trying to do and not let the world and life and stress and whatever's happening outside of this to keep us from going where we are trying to go. Because if this doesn't work, it's going to be you and I looking at each other. So we might as well look at each other to make something good happen.
I love that. And if I can add a layer to that, we're doing things that most of the people that we know or in our family have never done. And out of love and protection, they will advise you not to do it because it is risky, because they don't understand it. And so it is, I love the fact that we have this connection with somebody who we can take this risk with. There are people who are taking it by themselves and killing it, but we also have each other in this marriage to take this risk with, but also surrounding yourself with people who are doing exactly what you want to do, not people who aren't doing what you do and taking their advice. Oh, I don't know, that's really risky. The market looks like this. Oh, the news said this and this and that. And then we get in rooms with each other and who get it and who do this on this level. And the conversation is just so much different.
Absolutely. I always say you want to surround yourself with people who are headed where you're trying to go or have been where you're trying to get to. Right. That's when you normalize, the big conversations. We're in rooms where, millions and billions of dollars, like that's just part of the conversation versus being in other rooms where that's scary. And so you really do have to be intentional about who you surround yourself with. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that.
So what is one of you guys, and you both can give an answer to this, favorite marriage or real estate book?
What was that?
I read a lot of books. I think the books that have been the best for me in our marriage have been books about my development. Right? So there's tons of marriage books and things.
She's selfish, y'all. She's selfish.
Well, but if I can bring the best
you gotta
version,
get off this call after, man.
If I can bring the best version of myself to him, right? Then that will also encourage him to bring his best self to me, and we can be our best selves together, right? And so the one that I've been mentioning the most often lately is Women Evolve by Sarah Roberts Jakes. That book was really, really great in just how to honor yourself and show up as your best self in your relationships and in the world.
Yeah,
Are you going to the
I agree with that. I think a lot of the real estate books that I read are very technical books, which are great, right? They serve their purpose. Mm-hmm. If I could pick a book for just like relationships, there's a book called You Only Fall in Love 3 Times. And I think it's just a profound way of looking at the at just kind of the cycles of love. And what really struck me in the book is that all 3 of those loves can exist in one person, right? Mm. So it doesn't have to physically be 3 different people or marriages, relationships, whatever. And this is talking about like intimate, right? We're not talking about friendships here. We're not talking about parental. We're talking about like intimate. So like just tracking us and seeing us go through each of these phases, and just kind of smiling. And once you understand the process, or like somebody can explain it to you, then you not only feel like you're with somebody who can kind of speak to you and help you go through it. But more importantly, you feel like there's a path, there's a roadmap. You can say, you know what, today is just a day. You know what I mean? We may not have gotten along today, and that's fine, right? It's just part of the process, part of the journey. We're building stronger together, and we'll continue to do so.
I love that. And I definitely wrote that book down.
Yeah.
I was asking Kiera if you're going to the conference.
Sarah Jakes Roberts conference.
In Dallas.
Oh, I was supposed to go in Atlanta. I didn't. I haven't gone to the conference. I have looked at them to go. But something about her like hits me real deep. So I gotta be ready for it, because she definitely dropped some gems. And sometimes I got stuff to do that day, and I don't have time to be stuck in my feelings.
Stirs you up, that it takes you off your course. Listen.
Yes, she's amazing, and that's why I think sometimes I have to be in a certain space to be ready for it.
I feel like I need to read that book just to better understand.
Don't be all up in my business.
It's interesting.
Book?
So she has one video clip, and super, super short, but there's one video clip where TD Jakes anointed her or whatever to do her conference.
Yes.
It's like a moment. And I woke up in the middle of the night a couple of like weeks ago, and I was like, man, I want to see that moment. I want to see that dad give his daughter her flowers, because I just remembered it subconsciously. And Aisha walked in and she was like, well, what are you listening to? And I kind of told her the story or whatever, but I always get deep in the stuff, and then she'll come along after and be like, oh, I'm listening to this great thing. I was like, man, I was on that 3 months ago.
So what do y'all enjoy most about the lifestyle that you have designed?
Freedom. Yeah, I was gonna say freedom. Yeah. So being able to design our own day. I love traveling. I love being around folks who help me to continue to see more and see bigger. And so we tend to travel to be in those spaces. And I feel honored that we've created a life and a lifestyle and a team where we can continue to do that very often. So that freedom is really important.
Yeah, being able to pour, right? To feel like we're walking in our path in a way that we can pour into others.
Yeah.
From a very humbled and very modest and authentic place. Just like when your cup overflows with emotions and good spirit and all that, you can pour that into others, and we love doing that.
Yeah, we're very purpose driven and are walking in our path, not only individually but together. And I think that is a very large reason why the ebbs and flows of life and business haven't quite taken us out, right? Because we're walking in our purpose and our path, and being very intentional about that every day and showing up fully as ourselves every day. Either what you see online is what you're going to see in person, it's what you're going to see everywhere else, because it's just us. And I am very grateful to live a life in which I can just be me, and it matters to myself. It pays, we are able to pay our bills, and can go to sleep every single night full.
I love that. Aisha, you gonna ask the last question?
Yeah. Who or what do you think has been essential to your business growth?
I'll go with a what, so not a who. For our business growth, just like our attention to the market and our attention to the detail that comes with it, both on the real estate side as well as on like all the other sides, right? Because there's multiple different operations going on. So just being able to lean into those and say, all right, what's happening here and how does that impact from a global perspective, from a micro perspective? Okay, cool. What move should we make? Let's pivot here. Let's do that instead, right? And just being able to constantly adapt. Be nimble.
Yeah, that's really good. And my very first thought when you asked that, Aisha, was our parents, and just instilling that value-centered perspective, and just being very for me, it was always like, there are no limits. Like you can do whatever, you can do it all. Right. And I think for Khalil's parents, it's very value driven and being purposeful in all of those things. And I honestly think we were uniquely designed to do a lot of the things that we do now. And so, those kind of early on, as as you're married and the longer you're married, you realize how much that childhood matters. And so I'm glad for those value points that each of us got from our childhoods.
So I definitely feel that. And I would say my follow-up question of that is, and this is more for you, Khalil, being from Baltimore, with what you guys do in Baltimore, your parents seeing it, and I don't know if your parents are alive or whatever. I don't know. But how does your family feel? How does you guys' family feel about the impact that you guys have had, and how important is that for everything that you guys do? I mean, you named your company after your city. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my parents are still alive, still together. They're still scared. Honestly, they're still fearful.
Sounds right.
They're waiting for the shoe to drop. They ask the question like, "Hey, how are things going?" But it's kind of hey, how are
Hold on,
things?
side note, don't you hate that? My mom asked, how's business? I'm like, bro, like we are live. Like, leave us alone.
Yeah,
it really does. But you don't take it personally. You understand that it's coming from a place of love and protection and fear too. Right? We're doing things that they haven't done before. They're on social media forwarding emails that are talking about send this to 10 people or you're gonna die. Like, you know what I mean? They're looking at social media in that way and the internet and all these things. And we're like, no, this is a tool, Ma. Like you gotta come on, Dad, you gotta get on board. But I think they ultimately love what's happening. They really like when their friends hear about something that we're doing and it comes back to them and it kind of reinforces that, like, okay, they're okay. They're
gonna be all right. They're gonna survive.
Yeah. They're gonna survive.
Sounds very
Yeah, my parents are super excited. They're a little bit more nimble, I think.
So just for context, my parents are a little older. My dad is almost 80 and my mom's in her 70s, 74-ish. Kiara's parents are a little younger in their 50s.
Yeah, so my parents are
young.
Yes, my parents are pretty young. Yes, and so they're super excited. And so for my family, not only my parents, but like my greater family, like all of my family, historically, there's this whole kind of story I've told a ton of times, but my ancestors started a town in the 1820s, like a free town called Hinsonville in Pennsylvania. I literally grew up on the land. Not that it was passed down to me, but we just happened to live on it. And so that is my history. And so I think my family, not only my parents, but my greater family see what we're doing kind of as a return on investment, right? And, when you talk about being your ancestors' wildest dreams, that being literal for my family. And so for them, they're super proud and excited and try to support anything. They're at every event that we do, and they are like all in for everything, all the time.
I think that's why she's waiting for her trust fund.
Yeah, I am waiting for my trust fund because I know where the land is. And honestly, I know some of the people that got it once they took it from us. So every once in a while, I'm ready to pull up. So I leave the right to pull up on a few people around there.
Just make sure you bring your camera. I'd like to see that.
No problem. We'll bring a whole crew. Get somebody to sponsor.
we bought my mother's house years ago, and we're going to build our next house on that. But next door to that is a house that my grandfather had, and it got sold after my parents got divorced, whatever. But the lady who lives in that house, I'm just waiting. I'm like, she's in a mid, like, I think she's like the early 80s. I'm like, hey man, as soon as you're ready, I'm ready to buy it back. I need my inheritance back.
I need it back. I need it back. Plus interest. Give it all.
So tell us where our listeners can find you. And also, what do you guys have going on? What can people expect from Charm City Buyers in the future?
Yeah, so you can find us all over social. That's also a great way to keep up with us. It's at Charm City Buyers on Instagram. We have a Charm City Buyers Facebook. It's Charm City Buyers on YouTube. So we have tons of really great videos there as well. As far as what's coming,
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's a lot going on. Definitely a ton. But the first 10 years, we did a lot of learning, growing,
setting foundation.
setting the foundation, like a really, really solid foundation. So the next 10 years, you'll see a lot of development. You'll see a lot of construction. You'll see a lot of financing, capital, and all that kind of fun stuff. We're ready to really take off from here.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And then we always love to do live events. So we have live events in Baltimore throughout the year. We have a big conference that we tend to do in the fall, a 3-day conference called Mobilize Baltimore that we do in the fall, usually every year. So we're out there, we're online, but it's always great to touch it, feel it, see it. So folks tend to fly into Baltimore so that you can really get an understanding of what we've been talking about all these years online.
Yeah, let me look directly at the camera because you just said something that I think so many people need to hear. He said the first 10 years they built the foundation. So for everybody that's trying to jump out here and build generational wealth tomorrow, this man said the first 10 years he built the foundation. I just think that's such a key point that most people don't make. We're microwave, ready to get rich generation, and real true wealth and businesses they thrive and grow over time. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you for
And
recognizing.
we got to come out to the 3-day, man. I want to check it out. I've never been to Baltimore.
Come through. Yes, we love to have a great time in Charm City.
Yeah, I want to find out give me the meaning behind the name. I know it obviously has to be Baltimore. It's called Charm City, but why?
Yeah, why is it called Charm City? Once the architecture here, it's a very charming city. So because a lot of the buildings here are 100 years old or older, it's a lot of architectural features and different nuances about different neighborhoods and parts of the city. And so Baltimore is just charming. Like we have our own culture. Food is amazing, of course.
The art scene is dope.
The art scene is
Whether it's
dope.
murals or different buildings or just the way things are painted or just art in general. We got a Black Arts District that's fire. Right. There's so much, and it's hard to not use a different word, but there is so much charm, right? There's this like feeling, there's this like this celestial like just taste to Baltimore City.
Yeah, and it's authentic, right? It's not this kind of hoity-toity whatever. Baltimore has this very nonchalant coolness, right? And it's just I love this city, and so it's really great that we have so much support here locally for what we do and for how we love the city and how we're able to give back to it as well. But
so Charm City Buyers is because there's so many of us, right? The thought process in the beginning is that it's not just me, it's not just Kiara, it's not just us. There's so many Charm City Buyers that we have going through our group coaching program that have learned the things that we have done and are able to go out there and like really perform and execute, building their portfolio so that we can all collectively come together and buy up the city so that we can fix it, move it forward, eliminate vacancy, create community, all those good things through Charm City Buyers, the plural multiple.
Yeah, no, we manifested it through the name. We set the name and then built the community and all of the things that we've been able to do since then.
Awesome. So we're going to have to come check out that Charm because
we love to travel. And we love to meet up with people who are doing amazing things in their community through real estate. So this is not a goodbye. It's until next time.
Of course.
Thank you so much for being guest on the Marriage and Real Estate podcast. And we look forward to talking with you guys again.
Likewise. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.